Hey, everybody, tune in to Recent Tartarians.
Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians.
Oh, there he goes. Boom.
Nice.
What's up?
Oh, yeah, dude.
Bro
What
in
up?
Dealey Plaza. How's it going?
Yeah,
GoldenGate Starfort Command. Welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
I'm good, dude. I'm chilling, dude. I'm stoked. Right now I'm actually in Dealey Plaza. Let's see if I can turn it
Wow.
around.
Nice spot right there.
Yeah. You can maybe see. Have you been here?
Yeah. Yeah. It's one real weirdly nice spot. And it's every movie's about it in a weird way. Back to the Future and Gremlins are both built around Dealey Plaza. Hold on, let me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, how do I get your camera to be the main video? Hold on.
That I don't know. Let's see.
There we go. Pin, I think is the deal. I pinned it. Now it should just stay. Sweet. Look at this, guys. Dealey Plaza in HD, live.
Yeah. Live and direct.
Right? Well, this is crazy. That's the building too. That's the building that supposedly the window, and then you're at the grassy knoll, or is that the other side? I was confused.
I'm at the grassy knoll.
Yeah.
Which I think it's like right over here.
Yep. There you go.
There's the pants or the bums were and shit. It's
pretty interesting spot, man.
Yeah, it's weird because the 4-story window or whatever, it's like really close to where he was shot. It's like kind of surprisingly close, where it's like, okay, well, maybe he could have fucking got off those shots, you know?
Oh yeah, I mean it's a local. I mean, especially if he was a Marine who'd been trained. Obviously, there's information there, but then again, you look right where you're at, and there's this wall right there that'd be easy to duck behind if you turn around for just a quick second.
Oh yeah.
That area there, you could easily duck behind that fence. So, I mean, who's to say?
For sure.
Also, there's another building really close to you. Can you turn to your left afterwards? We'll look at this for a second, because how far deep is that? But it's fine. All right, there, that building, the castle thing.
This thing is nuts.
Yeah, is that, I forget what it is, right? It's like a Smithsonian looking building. That's what is that building again? Let me look that up.
I haven't looked it up yet. I forgot. But
let me get on a map real quick, and I'll pull up what I can find. Let's see, Dealey Plaza. Directions? No, I don't need directions. Thanks, though. That's very cool. Let me zoom in here for a second. And there is.
Take a seat here.
It's not. It should be right. Okay, the old Dallas courthouse. There we go. The old Dallas courthouse, built in the old. What kind of revival did it say? Renaissance revival. It is built in 1892, supposedly, probably in 1 year, without photos, of red sandstone with rusticated marble accents, in a historic government building located 100 South Houston Street in Dallas, Texas. Also known as the Old Red Courthouse, became the Old Red Museum, a local history museum. In 2007, it was designed in the Richardsonian Romanesque style of architecture by architect Max A. Orlop Jr. of the Little Rock, Arkansas base firm Orlop and Kuzner. In 1966, it was replaced by a newer courthouse building nearby. In 1976, it was added to the National Register of Historic Places. Interesting building, right? I mean, it's
got
very
some crazy brickwork. Oh, for sure.
Good.
And then turned into a museum or some shit.
And then this is all this crazy triangle, obviously, which is nice. You've got the same, this triangle pattern. It's a perfect point to the triangle as he comes through the middle of the base of the triangle. Interesting location. So why did you decide to go? What are you doing in Texas right now?
A friend of mine just moved out here like 6 months ago or so, and it was his 50th birthday party this week. So
sweet.
Got an RV and rolled out here with my girlfriend, and we've just been stopping at all kinds of little Southwest spots on the way.
Man, it's crazy, some of the forts in the area. And then I was looking at some caves. I'm gonna pull up a page really quickly. Let me see if I can find the one with the caves in it. Hold on. Yeah, I think it's this one. Hold on.
Oh, there's all kinds of forts and shit.
Right. Yeah, forts in every direction, and then underneath the forts, apparently, are a lot of these caves. If I do, I need to unpin. I forget how this works. I think this works, right? Like I'm able to show the picture.
Yeah,
Are you seeing
I
the
can see
screen?
yours. Yeah, I see
Okay.
yours.
Cool. So there's a bunch of these caves in the Dallas area, and a lot of them are
Oh
built on
shit.
top. They're all huge caves built on top of forts, right? And it's like
Yeah.
everywhere. I found another page that was list of like the best caves in the Dallas, Texas Hill Country area, and they're all on top. There's all these crazy forts that are there with these, places that you can bring your kids on rail trips and look at through the whole thing. But when you start to dig through, and then there's the inner space cavern, and then there's a Mounds cave. And I was thinking about Mounds, right? Because there are mounds
Yeah.
in the area. One of the main things about Dealey and Dallas is it's built on top of the Caddo people's location, supposedly. And the Caddo are, the Caddo
Oh, the
people
Kato.
the Caddo people, I mean, who knows what's real? Because like these pictures, they're shown having these like beehive Sumerian looking houses, which is kind of what there's these stories of there being connections to people that have come and intermingled with tribes from across the sea to like Egypt. But then a lot of them are of like Scythian background, and they connect the Caddo language to people all across the indigenous people of the southeastern woodlands. And so the woodlands is also the woodlands period, and that's where you start to look and you find all these mounds, and the mounds are like everywhere there, and underneath the mounds are hills. And this is some of the Starfort stuff as well, because when you start to like map out the Adena culture, a lot of them were star shaped. But then you've got new groups coming and building squares, literally square stuff on top of it. And that's like, it seems like the main difference is you have this circles, swirls, there's the mounds have underground areas, and then they have these spirals and everything, and they seem like kind of low key, like you wouldn't even really care about them that much. But when you start to figure out the underground aspects of what's going on and why they have them, it's like, okay. Also, something I saw, let me see if I can find the page on this. I have to go forward.
And the Scythian mounds, I remember when I came across that, like that's the exact same mounds that we have in America, exact same, everything about them, even the story, like whatever, they're the burial mounds, whatever, all the same.
So, I mean, and I'll go back because I want to show some pages on like forts that are on top of mounds, because you can see these square forts that are on top of mounds, and some of their locations, which have become really important. Like Fort Bliss is a super important fort that's built on top of an older fort. And you can see some of these like Fort Anahuac and Fort La Bahia, which are, you can see the squaring of original forts, which are older, but from Goliad into going north into Oklahoma City. But these are so low, you're like, wait a second, what's the deal with that? I mean, how did they really go that far inland or something? It would be a question worth asking. Well, then I noticed the Western Interior Seaway map from the Cretaceous Seaway. And this is a map that's supposed to be a really old map from like millions of years ago up until this period. And that's really that's ambiguous. It could be from millions of years ago to 10,000 years ago, or if we understand volcanoes, it could have been really a lot more recently. And when you start looking at things like the Aral Sea, right, the Aral Sea is a sea that just disappeared, and here's it in 1989, and here's it in 2014. And just because of human interaction by removing the water, within a generation, we just erased a sea is gone, right? So humans can do that. But it's interesting also because you've seen some of the maps of California as an island, and these maps are weirdly uncanny similar to the maps of the Cretaceous period map. And even then I went further to look further at it. Oh, this is the wrong one. There we go. And you see this, and this is Africa with the Chad, which has this Atlantis kind of island in it. And this is supposed to be such a long time ago that there weren't humans yet we have maps that are literally in the same exact formation of this. So it's kind of trippy.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm pretty interested now in some of these ideas of, I mean, if that means Missouri was a bay and a coastline, this idea that some of these places, like, you know, the Mormons are talking about the same stuff, but then you get into the local traditions and what the beliefs were of the Adana people, because then, you know, I looked up, I figure everything is the Hopewell. Let me see where I put this, the Hopewell
Yeah.
Mounds. Where's that at?
Oh.
I lost it. Let me go back. This thing, the window is covered by some of the screen. There we go. Okay, so Hopewell Mounds. We're familiar with Hopewell Mounds, but Hopewell Mounds are named after this guy Mordecai Hopewell, right? Then you find out about the Adena Mounds, and the Adena Mounds are connected all over the place, and they're identical to the Hopewell Mounds. So, and then again, they're the connections of the Adena and Hopewell cultures here. So we're pretty familiar with a lot of these pictures already, but we've considered them to be maybe supplanted later because they thought, oh, these must have been Celts or Welsh, or they had to be someone who interacted from the other side of the sea. Well, I mean, maybe there's some truth to that. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I thought that could make sense for sure. I kind of totally just forgot what I was gonna say.
I think
sorry,
it's cool. It's cool. I went like 6 subjects. I know we were looking at mounds and forts and underground and the water systems and everything.
Oh yeah, dude. But where was those caves? Those ones are in Dallas. The ones you pulled up earlier.
Yeah. Let me jump and see if I can find a picture of that. So there,
the underground for sure.
The Dallas cultural map, best caves, caverns, Texas Hill Country. So following your way, I mean, I guess some of these are also towards Austin, but there are a bunch of different caves, and Dallas has a series of caves that are in the area that you can go to. And yeah, the inner space cavern is supposed to be legit.
That sounds cool.
Yeah. So I mean,
they have some of those holes, like I went to the Blue Hole. It's in New Mexico, I think. It's like that deep swimming hole with caves on the bottom of it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty tight.
So I know you for people that don't know, you have a channel and you do Instagram and you do a lot of research on, you know, your GoldenGate Starforts command doing this. Yeah, right. Do your thing. But a lot of the Starforts, what do you think about Starforts, and what has kind of been I mean, after going around the country now, even, and seeing a bunch of them, where are you at now with this whole thing?
I mean, it's still just such a mystery. You know, it's fucking a mind boggler every time. I mean, I think the main story is totally wrong. The Bastion forts, and I mean, all the ones out here are like Mexican American war shit, and it's just sometimes it just the histories are so funny. Like every single conflict, it's like, oh well, there's a fort here. We could use it for, you know, we'll use it for this, use it for that. I mean, I'm still just on the sense that, you know, there's a Star City, it wasn't a fort, it was, you know, Star City, Star Town, power station, hydroelectric. I don't think it had anything to do with any kind of war or anything like that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm still leaning on that way for sure.
It's interesting, the differentiation between a star fort and a star city, because that's something I've noticed. I was looking at the difference in size of some of these star, you know, there's little forts. There really are forts they're tiny. You know, there are forts that are maybe the size of, you know, there's a castle and then there's a little fortress around it. But then it's almost always connected to a larger star city. I mean, that seems like they find a geyser, they find some sort of a geothermal center, and then they build this thing around this river canal every time, which is like you look at Argentina, and it's huge. Like Strasbourg is 30 miles, 20, 30 miles, 50 miles for some of these giant star forts. And so miles are a lot more than these meters.
Yeah, for sure. Here. Yeah, I think a lot of those big ones like that, just either they're too big and we just haven't like put our eye on them yet, kind of thing, where, you know, we're looking for smaller stuff, or that's just all been destroyed, or, you know, the city's just been built over it. You know, I would guarantee. I mean, they're everywhere. We already know they're everywhere. You know, it's like clearly was something.
So what do you think about this thing with the Americas? Like, I mean, we've been doing a thing with Egypt and Mormons and Gnostics and, you know, Islam. They all talk about leaving, you know, Judaism and Christianity talk about Moses leaving Egypt, going to the land of Canaan. But then there's all these stories about them going elsewhere. We have, you know, Greece and Istanbul and Ukraine. But you know, the Mormon stories, they're weirdly congruous with some of the myths of some of these tribes in these areas. Do you think there's any truth to you know, do you think there's a connection there with those biblical narratives? Do you think there's anything to them?
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I'm so paranoid and like distrustworthy of everything that like,
Totally.
I mean, automatically is like, no. But I also think like they, you know, in order to like rewrite everything takes a lot of imagination and like whatever. So I think they reused stories and reused histories, and obviously to like benefit their own means. So if there's truth in there, I think it's just been changed. Names have been changed, or you know, thrown off the scent of things, you know, or thrown off the scent of the real story. I don't know, dude, my brain is straight farting fucking left and right.
No,
Sorry,
man, it's
man.
chill. I totally get what you're saying. I mean, do you think that do you think that America what do you think was in America before Columbus times? You know, what do you imagine was the
I think it was the full on civilization, you know, Tartaria, you know, or Turkaria, Tater, you know. I mean, it's more like of a gut feeling, but I kind of feel like everything is opposite world, you know, like what they tell us, what actually happened is that most likely going to be completely opposite of what they say it is. So I actually think that America, like North America, South America, probably were the like where the civilization started instead of Egypt or Africa, or you know how they
into Africa theory instead of an out. I've seen it makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's what the Egyptians said. They had the Babylonians and the Songhai. They talk about moving inland where it's safe after the flood. So I mean, clearly they're talking about a reset of a civilization before it. That is funny though, because then looking at that inland peninsula, it makes Jacksonville, Missouri, kind of close to what could be in Eden. That's pretty funny. I mean, if Joseph Smith was right about anything, then that's funny, right? I think.
I mean, totally. I mean, I think Joseph Smith and them, they were, you know, they had answers, or at least better clues to answers than we have. So they had to be onto something, you know. And like, it's just so much shit. Like they were out mining in California in the 1840s, you know. Then it's just when did they opened a mint in like 1848? I think was the first mint the Mormons made. It's like too coincidental.
Right. Yeah, the whole Deseret thing. Also, we had talked a bit about DuckTales. Oh yeah, see you're in the Dealey Plaza. They're all gonna be like, cool. Well, gotta do what you gotta do to get stuff done. I think Jerry Garcia once said. Well, okay, so one thing we talked about before also was interesting was like our interest in DuckTales comic books, because so much of the narrative is hidden not just in Shakespeare, but in kids' cartoons, and not just kids' cartoons, but in comic books. Comic books seem like even video games and comic books, video games now are having so much disclosure. It's blowing my mind. You know, the reset stories in Horizon Zero Dawn or whatever.
I've seen some of that in screenshots and shit. It's a trip.
Yeah, I mean, they're going into this idea as, you know, as hard as they can, but the comic books, we looked at Donald Duck and the Scrooge McDuck comic. We got one that was about a Starfort, but basically that had its own sovereignty. And what was do you remember the deal with the one that you grabbed?
It was, I can't quite remember, but yeah, that had its own sovereignty, and he repurposed it basically.
Totally, grabs a fort, takes it over, makes it McScroogia or something like that. You know,
updates it. dude, the DuckTales shit's crazy. I'm still like wrapping my mind around it. But I binged so many of those episodes, and like every single one, my jaw's just like on the floor, like, what the fuck? This is insane.
Dude,
and the Three Caballeros, dude, fucking,
dude,
that's the best.
I mean, so in the DuckTales, the new DuckTales, when I think it's Huey becomes the richest, moves Dewey. I think it's Huey becomes the richest duck in the world, and he has to take care of the secret island that's been removed from the McDuckle maps so that no one can see it, and that the secret island has a minotaur in a labyrinth that has to be kept, or else it's a titan that'll be unleashed on the earth, because that's what the richest person has to deal with all the time. And and the Three Caballeros is crazy, because the Three Caballeros, they have the Masonic checkerboard floor. They have to go to all of the ruins around the world, and they have to find the Titans and play shows for the Titans to, like, what is it, to wake them up and put them to sleep. I mean, and the Cassandra, the goddess of prophecy, is their friends, the Three Caballeros.
Yeah, just hanging out.
It's pretty wild, dude.
It's wild. It's absolutely insane. I don't even know how to say it, but everyone just make their life better by just throwing on some Caballeros.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's clearly the least produced show, the least promoted show. They didn't want anyone to know about it. What? No one's never seen ad for it in my life.
Yeah, I never even heard of it. And even it goes back. What was the movie? It was like in the 40s, or was it 50s?
Dude, yeah. So it's in like World War. It's in World War II. So the Three Caballeros movie, Disney wasn't able to get as many animators, and he was dealing with unionization, and there's a lot of problems. So he took a trip with his best animators down to South America. I think they went to they started in Mexico, then they went to Argentina and Uruguay. I think they might have gone to Chile as well, and Brazil. I think they went to Brazil. So they went around and they did like a little tour. But there's a huge, some would say that during World War II, that Walt Disney was working with the government, and that him going to South America was more than just to make this movie, which turned out to be kind of a cover for maybe some South American operations, going to various strategic locations the Germans were at in South America. And it could have also been the other way around. Could have been that Walt Disney was going down to South America because that was a place where he could meet with Germans, and we don't know. We're not sure. I'm looking at finding as much as I can in Freedom of Information Act about Walt Disney, and there's still a lot of cloud around it, because apparently he had aliases, and it gets pretty, because he had multiple pseudonyms for works he did, and this is a trend in Hollywood, of course.
Yeah.
But basically they made this movie, which is like the tour of South America. It's Donald Duck's birthday. The movie takes place on Friday the 13th, 1941 or 42, I think. And he's got, and because Friday the 13th is Donald Duck's birthday, of course. And then he meets the other ducks, which lead him on this tour of South America, and he gets to Mexico, and he gets to fly in a magic carpet, and he sees all kinds of ruins. And it's very revealing that there's a lot more going on in South America. And it was, I think, America's first, like, look at this, but it ends with this abstraction. There's no logical ending. His birthday gets wilder and wilder until a bullfight happens with the cake, and then the stars explode, and it's just very strange meta kind of movie, Yeah,
it doesn't for sure.
Yeah, it's worth watching. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I mean, it has some weird parables, like the boy with the flying donkey. The boy with the flying donkey is clearly, that's some Gnostic stuff right there.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, I remember, so you did those videos like a few years ago, the Esoteric DuckTales, and those are fucking awesome, which I still watch all the time and learn shit every day. But I was such a rad synchronicity. I was out at the Cliff House. I saw there's a plaque on the Cliff House. There's kind of a weird plaque, and it was a Clampers plaque. I hadn't thought about the Clampers for a long time, and they're such a weird group. But so I was looking into them, and then they did the hoax for the Sir Francis Drake Emerald Tablet or whatever the fuck it was called, and like on that Wikipedia it mentioned the DuckTales did a episode about it, the Scrooge McDuck comic, And that was just such a freaking magic moment when I saw that. It was like ding, 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 rockets going off and shit. I was like, holy shit.
Dude,
It's
Zelensky
legit.
Zelensky called the Russian nationalists Beagle Brothers in colloquial form, because that means, and whatever the Russian translation is, that means whatever the comic book is called, and the Beagle Brothers are the criminal groups in all countries. So you'll hear it in the news in Holland and France and Russia and in places that they're like, oh yeah, well we brought in some Beagle Brothers today, or the Beagle Brothers, because they represent just the nefarious side of a civilization. And it's like
totally.
it's that poignant, and it's that present, even. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's right there in plain sight.
Right.
And
So
what
there's
Donald is like the name. What is it? It means God or something like that. Have you seen that?
He's like son of God, right? Because Don Al,
Yeah.
Don of
Yeah.
And the Stargate, right? Because Donald Duck, he can't communicate very clearly, and he's getting further and further disconnected from his family as the show goes on because of his lack of communication. Up until I made the episode, and then right after they did the finale, they brought Donald Glover in to play his voice, which is like, boom, like someone's paying attention, which is great.
Yeah,
and
seriously.
the blasted tartar sauce was the finale episode.
Dude, I died on that. When you said that, you're like, when you said the blasted tartar sauce, I went right to it. I fast forwarded all the way through just so I could see it,
dude. Yeah, you have to confirm.
It's too real.
Yeah, you got to make sure it's real. It's hard to believe unless you see it yourself.
Yeah. No, I was like, holy shit, dude. It's like almost like a lot of this stuff I almost feel like is being placed here for me.
What did you
it,
did you see the Pentaverate yet? Mike Myers' Netflix show?
No.
Dude, so it's super wild. Basically, I don't want to spoil it for everybody, so I'll only say like the things that aren't going to spoil the show. But those, having said that, are super esoteric aspects that wouldn't spoil the show, so it's okay to talk about them. So I Married an Axe Murderer, his father character he plays in the 90s, it's like his first movie, he says, it's well known that the world's run by the Pentaverate, and he's the Scottish guy like Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah.
And he's telling everyone the Pentaverate are these 5 guys that, believe in soap, basically, instead of the plague being a curse. Huh. And then they started this, this order, the Pentaverate, to run the world. And they're supposed to be the nice guys that are trying to run the world. And there's all these conspiracies around them, people that are trying to take over. Rupert Murdoch is trying to take over the Pentaverate in the show, essentially, and played by Mike Myers. But the Pentaverate conspiracy began with these priests back in the Dark Ages in Dubrovnik, Croatia. So they have this underground tunnel that's called the Musk Tunnel that they have to ride, that takes them all around the world really fast in these secret underground tunnels to Dubrovnik. And they get to Dubrovnik, and there's this, these Croatian Slavic mystics and people, and then there's this temple, and it's all underground, and it's completely out of control. But yeah, the thing is, he gets to Dubrovnik, he wanders through the streets, and there's a festival going on that day, which is the Dubrovnik Festival of the Ogre. And you have to, like, it's a Bigfoot Sasquatch thing, and there is a Sasquatch in the show because it's got to have everything, right? And they're like, yeah, all the conspiracies are real, and they actually have Sasquatch living at the base in Dubrovnik. And he escapes in the street, and they're supposed, in the Croatian tradition, the ogre comes, you give the ogre some presents, so the ogre leaves you alone. So they're going through the streets, and some guy dresses up as an ogre, and then they give him some presents. They think Sasquatch is one of the, he's like a dressed up guy playing the Croatian Dubrovnik ogre, and they try to give him some presents, and he's this crazy Sasquatch, so he tries to freak out on them. And then boom, because of intellectual property permissions, I guess, Mike Myers shows up as Shrek. And you've seen maybe my episode on Shrek and the connections between Shrek and Satanism, because the daughter of the Church of Satan changed her last name to Shrek after the guy who interviewed Charles Manson, who changed his name to Shrek. And Shrek has to do with fright and shrieking. At the same time, the book came out for Shrek, and Shrek is based on this idea. Okay, so Shrek shows up, and he's like, let me handle this one, Sonny. I'm the real ogre of Dubrovnik. And then he just like beats up the Sasquatch and everything. And so the levels of and Grant, I don't want to say too much more, but I think that's enough to give you kind of the idea. There are so many, there's formulas on the wall which relate to curvature of the earth, that relate to Michelson Morley, ether experiments. There's a lot of deep stuff laid into the show, and you wouldn't think it because he's got these characters that are like, birds aren't real. I'm from New Hampshire, and it's kind of funny, and it's supposed to be, but I think it's probably the most redeeming thing Netflix has ever put out. And of course they're canceled the week before it arrived,
Yeah. Is that when did that come out? Is that a new one or?
It came out like a week ago, maybe like 4 or 5 days ago. Yeah, it's pretty new. And I think it came on Cinco de Mayo or something like that. And but it was like a few days. Yeah, right. And it was a few days though after, I remember the last few months, everybody's been canceling Netflix, and not just the right-wing Christians, right? It is everybody. And so that is interesting because it's not going to last, but it will. And again, CNN plus that money's in Netflix. So Netflix is going to expand in weird new ways. That's going to be really, of course, but for now they're making sure people aren't paying attention. And that's lets you know that show must have accidentally slipped by because they have so many people that are more focused on political correctness than esoterics now. It's amazing. Totally. I mean, right?
It's off the radar.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're more worried about offending people about their pronoun than giving away some Rosicrucian secrets.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's a trip. Speaking of, I had this thought about Rosicrucians not too long ago, but do you think they invented Egyptology?
I kind of just, so I had a talk recently with David Ewing Jr. and he talks a lot about, Egypt being, if he's got a couple books, he got like 30 books,
Dude, one of them, guy's fucking, that's hella shit. That's cool. You did that. Because I've seen his stuff, that like I haven't seen him, interact with anyone.
Dude, I know. He's so wild in person. It's amazing.
Yeah, totally. And so I was just like, you don't know who this guy is or whatever. And then I watched that and I was like, oh, dude, this guy's cool, man.
Dude, I mean, he talked about Red Bulls for a second and he tried to act like he didn't know much about why people use Red Bulls. And I'm like, you drink Red Bull, huh? That's your deal, bro. That's what you're like 6 cans in right now. No wonder.
That's his
his energy is amazing. But he does have some theories which are, I think, like he's talked to a lot of the right people and a lot of the stuff is really far along. There's a few things he just hasn't quite come to yet regarding Tunisia and some of the history of that that involve the changing of the world history there. And so Kufic isn't the origin of the Arabic language, but it is a script that was used to write Arabic eventually. So the script actually predates Arabic. And you can ask I was talking to a professor in Tunisia about this a while ago. I'm trying to do a talk with. It's hard to get people that are professors to give you more than an hour of their time ever. And even then they'd rather just chat with you for an hour. That's actually how I got David to do his thing, was I just record David talking when we talked originally. That's how I got him to do his first video.
Right.
But it's a popular thing and people have been wanting to hear what he has to say for a while. But going into like the Aboriginals, Occidental, Moorish people that were probably, a lot of those skeletons were probably black. I mean, not all of them, but a lot of them probably were. There's a lot of things about that. But he mentioned this thing about Egyptology being pretty modern. And the thing about that, so here's my perspective on it. It's totally true that Egyptology was invented because that's what it means. It's a study of Egypt, and Egypt didn't exist because it was Kemet. So clearly we're already dealing with a lie to begin with. But
I know they do that so much.
But there is a book called Egyptica or Egyptiaca, and it refers to Manetho, and Joseph has read it. And so what we're dealing with is people's translations of what they did know. So there is some information in there that's based on truth. And you get that J.R.R. Tolkien quote stuck in your head that evil can't create, it can only manipulate. I hope it's true. It might be a lie. Evil seems to make a lot of stuff, but it does seem pretty repetitive. Evil's really banking on symmetry. They're like, oh, see how it rhymes, so it could be that they're just making up things, but I think they're probably just manipulating facts. So Egyptology talks a lot about this idea of eating human corpses, and in the Middle Ages it was very popular to eat remains or drink serums, tinctures made from mummification, and they thought, oh well, things that came from this old period were, well, so in a sense, it's like Jurassic Park. Oh, this is the biggest dinosaur. And every year they wouldn't find something. They had to bury something. So they found at the end of their tour so they could say, oh, wow, look what we did find.
Yeah, but I'll give us more money.
But some of that stuff is real in the sense that, like, I think a lot of the cuneiform tablets are actually real. I think David thinks they aren't, but I believe that a lot of the cuneiform tablets are real. I think a lot of Proto-Hebrew is falsified. I think that in the 1840s and 1890s, they started to make up some of the, and they have a better name for it that I recently heard than Proto-Hebrew. Hold on, what do they call it again? Paleo-Hebrew, which again, it's not even really, it's using letters from Abjad script, and Abjad script is, it's a Phoenician script. And so we do have records of Phoenician scripts, but then I got this book, right, which is cool, called Tariq al-Fatish, the Timbuktu Chronicles from 1493 to 1599. And you get into it and you start, and by the way, it's a beautiful book because it had the paper itself has like these little, like, it's like, it's just kind of pretty to like look at the paper. It's like you're looking at ancient paper or something. But it gets into some of these ideas of lost manuscripts being hidden manuscripts, the Timbuktu being an origin site of trying to teach a new language after they've come back from a deluge. And so there is that idea that there's a resurging culture in Egypt that is mentioning that it came from another place. It's trying to keep what it's got going. It's got a lot of matriarchies. And then in the area, there are other areas which are very quickly, over a few centuries, like 2 centuries, conquered more and more by kingdoms. And so we have a whole other history to deal with. And that's why I think it's interesting that Josephus Manetho is telling you the story about Moses at about the same time as about the same time as Yuya and Akhenaten. So I guess my answer is I think Egyptology is made up, but there's still a lot there to work with.
Some truths.
Yeah, but a lot of the architecture is made new, right? Because they would take things apart and rebuild it, and so yeah. I mean, and there's no way, like, the slave labor that built shit theory or ideas, just there's no fucking way, like, right. Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny when you start breaking that apart too, because even the Bible doesn't really say it like that. It talks about how Joseph was super rich. The Hebrew Israelites were allowed to have all the land they wanted. And then during Yuya's reign, as he gets older, they start to suppress them more, but he still makes it clear that they're workers. And so this idea of independent contractors, they didn't have the same rights as a slave, because a slave, according to Muslim law, which descends from these older Sumerian ideas and Persian ideas, you owed your slaves certain kinds of retirements. You couldn't own their children, but you had to raise them and take care of them until they were like 25. And so there's a whole other side of it, being that they were in the service of the king. You have to remember, Yuya, that Joseph was a slave. That's why he had so much money, because he was living in a nice house that was owned for him by the Pharaoh being the great house, So So it could have been that the main thing is independent contractors don't have rights. They can pay people less to do more. They don't have unions. And so they could have easily had children workers and all these other things that were being killed. But the other thing is the idea of them building the pyramids isn't in the Bible at all. And I was like, wait, is that a thing? And no, they just built, they're saying they're working on these monuments in Egypt. Everyone assumes they mean the pyramids. But no, there's a lot of there are other monuments. Yeah, there's tons of other buildings.
There's all kinds of shit out there.
Yeah, so the idea of them building Armana, the city of the sun worship cult for Aten, which is this monotheistic cult, very similar to this idea of Moses, right? So I think that's what we're starting to see, is that all of the cultures today are descended from what was going on at one point, maybe in Kemet, because Kemet's important. There are links there, and we see the Mega Chad start to dissipate and it starts to turn to desert again. But they even say that they came from somewhere else. So, I mean, if they came from Sumer, it would have been more clear that that was the case, and they would have just said, yeah, we came from Sumer because that's where we came from. But the Noah thing, it makes it sound like they came from Eden and got to once they were in a boat for years, right? So once they finally got to a place that they could be, that could have been the New World, which is Africa and Eurasia.
Right. Totally. Yeah, exactly. Yep. They flipped it for sure. Yeah, it's a trip, dude. You fucking blow my mind all the time.
Dude, same though. I mean, I love some of the stuff you post like every day on, you get some really important perspectives. And so I've been talking to you a lot about, the different ways that they've hidden information in front of us, and some of these things that are in our pop culture. I mean, how much they're they're created by esotericists, or they used to be anyway, that we
For
kind of have
100%.
to, we got to look through it, man.
Yeah, dude, for sure. I mean, I only reason I even care to watch TV or any movies or that shit is just to see what they're fucking either trying to program us with or what they're trying to hide in there, what kind of clues we could find.
You seen the idea that Back to the Future is about 9/11, but it's also about the JFK assassination?
No, dude, I haven't heard that one.
Dudes, so Back to the Future, they take place in the whole set is built to look exactly like Dealey Plaza, and I'll send you a video about it later. But let me look at if I can find Back to the Future Town Square. I'll just pull it up.
Oh yeah, yeah, I could picture it.
Let me just grab a screen share. You can see though that the way that the road comes around Dealey Plaza, that there's this perfect V at the corner there, and then when they stretch around, it rewraps. So it's interesting. I mean, there you go. You're like basically standing on Dealey Plaza right now, and it's such an important aspect of the whole story. He even says to the guy, he's like, you know, where do I need to go? And he's like, we got to go down to this street, and he's like, oh, that's John F. Kennedy Drive. And he's like, John F. Kennedy? Who the hell is John F. Kennedy? Because it takes place before the John F. Kennedy thing.
Right.
But they're giving you that little bit. Then you watch Back to the Future 2. Same plaza, same thing. But this time they go to the store. It's a retro store. And in the store, there's a few busts of the assassinated presidents. Lincoln, for some reason, I think Garfield, which is like, and JFK. But JFK is the only one where you can see his whole head, and his head sliced down the spot where it's shot, just the front bust, because it's a book end kind of cover. So you get that kind of immediate vibe. And then there's a bit more like, you know, the 9/11 thing is that they go to the Twin Pines Mall at what is it? It's 6:11 in the morning, right? But if you flip it, it's 9/11, or it was 11:06 or something. I forget what it is. It's 1:16 in the morning, but it's 9/11. That's what it is. And then they smash out and they destroy the Twin Pines Mall, and the time travel changed it to the Lone Pine Mall because it's the one tower now. And there's a lot more with the Back to the Future where, you know, he's talking about, for instance, Back to the Future 2, he's upside down. His father, you know, the character is, and it's the only time anyone's upside down the entire trilogy. So, you know, this is the time to look at it from his perspective. And he walks in upside down. He looks at the TV screen, and the TV screen's broken, but it's a picture of a tracking VHS tape of the Twin Towers. But if you watch it from his perspective, the Twin Towers are going down. So he's watching, it's the most literal representation in film cinematic history of the Twin Towers going down. And then, you know, in front of it is a lantern of the Statue of Liberty, which is the lamp that they have on the table in front of it. So, and then they say, you'll find out in 30 years later, they made The Wire, and the man on a wire is walking on the wire between the two buildings in the movie. He's a Frenchman who has to walk between the Twin Towers, and he's wearing the jacket and the shirt and the hat from the Back to the Future 2. He's wearing the leather jacket, a red shirt, the whole outfit, identical outfit. And it takes place 30 years. In 2015, that's the movie. And it's made by Robert Zemeckis, who made Back to the Future. So there's so many weird little things in that. Plus, they shot the whole movie once with, what's his name? Crispin Glover. And then that's the guy who actually is,
yeah, he was in there.
Let me replaced Back to the Future. Let me see the original. Eric Stoltz. So Eric Stoltz was going to be, they filmed the entire movie with Eric Stoltz, and then Eric Stoltz was replaced at the end of 5 or 6 weeks, and they said, oh, it's not working. But by that point, they'd shot the whole freaking movie. And then they had Marty McFly be Michael J. Fox, who they said they always wanted but couldn't get because of family ties, scripting reasons. I don't know. But the thing is, they shot the whole movie through, and they have all the film of it still. They said they didn't get rid of it. And at the time, Eric Stoltz said, this movie is a terrifying horror story. It's about a kid who never sees his family again, because once he gets through and fixes everything, he comes to a new home that's bigger and different. His dad's a new guy, a new man who's never known. His mother's changed in reaction. And so there's another aspect to this idea that Biff was his original father, And the only scene you can see when Marty McFly punches him, that fist, the only scene in the movie that's really Eric Stoltz. So it's still the original scene.
Oh,
You just
shit.
yeah. So the fist is the changeover from where Biff's no longer the father. And then that changes the entire scenario. And this is all set up by the doc so that the son will be born of the father, right? And so the father has to beat up this guy in the car who's going to rape this woman. And so you see the beginning of this the story. It wouldn't have been that was necessarily the beginning of him getting to be the father, but it could have been through the years. He's the aggressive male in their lives, and so him messing with the wife that he's always loved, and he's always there, he's still there. So there's this weird other aspect of this, he has to correct the nobility of the McFly line, which then takes him back even further. And you see that there's McFlys on the other side still. So there's this weird Merovingian thing with that. But JFK is a Norman, right? So the Norman connection is that the von Braun family, and then the town is all the records are lost because there's a flood that flooded the town and got rid of all the records. So it's crazy, all the stuff in Back to the Future, man. I mean,
dude, what the hell? Yeah, I'm gonna have to dig into that one again. Big time.
The other one is Gremlins, because Gremlins has the same set. So if you look at any movie that's got the same set, there's got to be some connections to JFK, Dealey Plaza, man. I'll tell you.
Definitely. Yeah, they put it out there for us to see, man. I love it, dude. This shit's like the fucking coolest, most interesting shit ever. You know what I mean? Like, it's the best. It's so cool.
We got to jump on a more synchromisticism talks. So tell everybody where they can find your content.
Well, on Instagram, it's just GoldenGate Starfort command. There's probably some underscores in there. I don't know. And I'm on YouTube too. The same thing. I've made a few things that, been trying to make more. Just been super inspired to do this whole thing, this whole research. I don't know. This is a trip, dude. Like, I mean, I've been a conspiracy theorist since I was a fucking kid, and I've always just kept shit to myself, done my own thing, whatever. But getting into Tartaria and this hidden history and all this shit, it's like inspired me in this whole new way. And it's like, I don't know, I'm having fun. I'm like, dude, sitting here talking to you, dude, this fucking rules. Yeah, it's awesome, man.
Dude, you're doing great work. I mean, I'm making sure people know it, and they should find you, because you go to the GoldenGate Starfort Command on Instagram with some underscores there, but you just look for GoldenGate Starfort Command, you'll find it. And then also his YouTube channel, GoldenGate Starfort Command. I mean, he's got some pretty great videos, dude. Like, there's some stuff here that will blow your mind, and it's worth checking out. Like, and also it's all about perspective, because you've got a lot of the things that you need to see things away, like that's the lens.
Yeah, man. The perspective. I mean, it's all about perspective for sure. Even the curvature of the earth. I'm just fucking around. No, dude, I mean, I love it.
I'm all about the electric universe theory. And my whole idea is that the entire universe is holographic, and holograms tend to be pieces of thin foil. So, I mean, it's just saying.
Yeah, dude, I'm into it. I mean, the truth is definitely weirder than it is. And I think the inner earth, hollow earth, it could be a lot more of the truth as well. I don't know. It's like opposite of the globe, I always just go to what's opposite.
It's funny because, like, technically hollow, that's one of the reasons I got on Vice with it, I think, is because it doesn't really argue with anybody. It's just that there's a cave underground that's really big, and a lot of people can kind of handle that. There's certain kinds of geologists which are just like, no, I mean, because it can't work at 6 miles deep, it should not work at 100 miles deep, but they know better, and everyone knows better. The idea of the drill, MIT's building that drill now to go get energy about 10 miles deep. I'm gonna pull that up real quick just to MIT.
I haven't heard of that.
Let me pull up the article. It's crazy. I saw this in the Futurism post a while ago.
It,
MIT startup drilling 12 miles into Earth to suck out energy. Okay, that's kind of awesome. An
What?
MIT spinoff has locked down significant funding for literally groundbreaking project using fusion-powered tech drill 12 miles into the Earth and harvest immense energy down there. This startup is called Quaze, and it picked up 40 million in Series A funding last month, according to a press release. It says the money is going towards its efforts to leverage fusion technology to drill one of the deepest holes of all time. If it proves viable, it could give access to humans to nearly limitless, clean geothermal energy, fusion drilling. And so this is going to be, I think just slightly deeper than the Mariana Trench or the Russian Volnish tunnel. We have 2 tunnels, which are about 11 miles or 11 kilometers, 8 miles deep. And this will be 12 miles deep. And from there, they think they can extract energy. And the idea would be to build these in cities, right? And a whole city built around it. So you can come into your Heliorchus and you can get your energy on. And that's a pun because Heliorchus was really called on. So, but that's crazy, right? Drilling underground. So,
yeah, it's like kind of like how we were saying that Starfort, Star City is built around that free energy source.
Yep. And that's another question. Do you think that they're trying to rebuild Tartaria, or they're trying to take it over? Or do you think that there's a lot of evil out there? What are they trying to do?
Okay, they're trying. I mean, they're definitely trying to take it over. Or it's already been took over, right? But,
yeah. You get that sort of, but so there's that. You'll be hungry. You won't be hungry. You'll be happy. You'll own nothing and be happy, right? Is that just they're gonna make sure that by the time they turn Tartaria back on, that everybody doesn't own anything anymore, and that they're just gonna be slaves in the state? Or what do you think? Like,
yeah,
is it a beehive?
definitely. Yeah, I mean, they're definitely gonna bastardize it to make us to fuck us in the long run. To like the bastardized version of it. Yeah, dude. I mean, for sure, they don't want us to enjoy all the benefits. They don't want us to reach our full potential. They don't want us to fucking, be who we are. No, we don't even know who the fuck we are, or what we're doing. So yeah, they'll fucking turn it back on, and we'll somehow still have to pay for it and still be their slaves. And we won't have anything to show for or have our name. So.
Do you have any hope?
What
about hope?
Man.
This next part.
Yeah,
what do you think?
dude.
I agree with you that that's terrifying, and I think that's probably what they're going to do if we don't do something different. What do we got to do to stop it? Do you have any ideas, or because we're all looking for ideas to save the world?
Dude, totally. I mean, sadly, I don't know if we can stop it. I think we can stop it on personal levels, and with each other. I think we need to take it back. Take our lives back to more DIY, to more less city, community-based shit, small groups with your tight friends, where everyone's pitching in and everyone's skills are being used, and we don't have to rely on all these fucking motherfuckers who have to buy food off of, buy bottles of fucking water and shit. I do think there's hope, man. I mean, I don't think, fuck, dude, it's just, we might not save the world, but we might be able to save ourselves, kind of thing, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it gets that way.
I think, there's so much, I've learned so much about myself, even in this process, like the last couple of years, and just learning about Tartaria and everything they had has been inspiring, just to make my life better and show up and be a better person of people in my life, and I think maybe we can win if we do all kind of just fucking raise our levels, fucking get better and be real. It's so many people are just out for themselves, fucking fuck you over for anything, and that ain't gonna win the fight, that's for sure. Fucking people are calling I mean, dude, I can't believe people fucking call you out saying you're some fucking agent or some chill. Like, it's like that's the shit that's gonna make us lose. You know what I mean? It's
And
like,
yet also make me more popular. So I kind of,
Yeah.
hey, it's all right.
and you know, no,
Credible or
no,
incredible, no press is bad press, I bet. you
yeah,
know?
dude, I was just trying to get that out, dude. Fuck yeah, yeah, but no, man, I have hope, dude, and like, I think we're getting into a good place. And overall in the world, I mean, I think the world's been fucked for a long time, you know, and
That survival instinct is real though. You're right. Like people that are taught
Yeah.
in a survivalist mentality to like, if you ever in Dante's Inferno, there's a place he sees where everyone's in hell, that their chains are too short to reach the dishes of food in front of them, but they're long enough that they could reach behind them and feed the dude behind them if they were to think of it, you know. And
Right.
that's a big
Yeah.
part of our situation.
Totally, dude, big time. Fuck, I just fucking lost what I was gonna say again, dude. I'm sorry.
It's my fault. I jump in and I grab the mic. I'm
No, dude.
notorious. But bro,
Nah,
dude, it's been epic talking, and I want us to do this again. We should do more talks. I want to do some stuff on Donald Duck again, and we should get together the
Dude,
group
yeah.
of people, because I know we had Divulgence, Rise from the Ashes, Deep Share podcast. Just shout out to all the dudes that we've been working with that are trying to do
Great
stuff. That's awesome.
Big time, dude. Great Deception.
Great Deception. Yes.
Yeah,
There's a lot of great people in the community now, and I think that's a huge thing, is trying to get people to tell this story and try to research it. And it's a big personal thing to make your life about questioning everything. So trying to shout out, like, help everyone get a follower that like deserves one. I think that
seriously. Yep. I think we have a killer community right now, and it's just getting better and bigger. And I mean, it's just, how could someone not fall in love with this and like fall in love with this idea, you know? It's awesome. And it's fucking true, man. It's fucking true. They've changed the history on us. It's fucked. Nothing is real before fucking 1915 or some shit. Yeah. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Nah, dude, it's good. All right, man. It's great to talk to
sorry,
you.
Dude.
No, it's great.
This was awesome.
I'm gonna cut this up, and I'll put this up, and I'll let you know when we're linked. Maybe I can figure out a way of getting it on Instagram too, so we can like spread the share. I got to learn how to use Instagram better too.
Yeah, dude, let's do it. And I'm definitely down to do this again.
Yeah, dude.
I'm sorry it was mobile and freaking.
Oh no, it's cool. It's in
all
freaking
bouncy
Dealey.
and shit.
It's in Dealey Plaza. I mean, we got to get you though. We got to get you one of those tripods that are Steadicam stick. I got this thing here, and it's a tripod monopod. It's a monopod that has, these shitty little legs. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. These are like $10 on Amazon. I recommend get one.
Yeah.
Then you can be mobile all day.
Yeah,
but, it was good. You got a good location, so that was sweet.
Yeah, no, I was stoked, dude. I'm just stoked we got to chop it up.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
And
in Texas, that's some Fear and Loathing right there. That's pretty based.
Oh yeah, dude. Here's
oh my.
There's where he shot from.
Wow.
I think it's this one of those ones, right? Oh yeah, because it's open.
Wow.
Dude, it's right there. It's pretty fucking close. Crazy. Now I'm like, I think Oswald did it.
Did you see that series with what's his name? James Franco. It's a Stephen King series on the show. It's like 20, what's it called? 10/22/63 or something like that. It's about the day. It's a guy time travels back in time to the Dealey Plaza, and he has to try to stop it. You gotta watch it. It's where it's like 10 episodes. Really good. Eventually, I don't want to actually, you know what? I can't even tell you because it's worth telling you enough. It's worth you seeing enough that I couldn't spoil it for you. But some wild stuff happens in that show. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's worth it.
Dude, I'm gonna check it.
Yeah.
Check
All right, dude.
Yeah, dude. Awesome.
Peace out.
Right on, dude.
Hey, everybody, tune in to Recent Targaryens.
Recent Targaryen. Recent Targaryen.